Sports. An op-ed piece in the Wall Street Journal has Virginia Senators Mark Warner and Tim Kaine worried about the next administration's plans to cut federal jobs. The piece was written by Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy, who have been appointed to head President-elect Trump's Department of Government Efficiency. 10 on your side's Ashley Knight spoke with Senators Kaine and Warner and has this reaction. Ashley?
Well, Stephanie, the op-ed piece was published Wednesday of this week. In it, Musk and Ramaswamy outlined their plan for reversing what they call a decades-long executive power grab. They plan to reduce federal regulations and thereby cutting the number of federal workers and cutting costs. However, local senators are skeptical and ready to put up a fight. The Department of Government Efficiency hasn't started work yet, but has already stirred the pot, making legislators anxious about what's to come.
Elon Musk knows a lot about space flight and knows a lot about producing electric vehicles. But, you know, the notion that he's going to come in and just suddenly decide how big the federal government should be, you really need some deep understanding.
The idea that you're going to protect defense and cut $2 trillion and not touch Medicare or Social Security is not mathematically possible.
In their opinion piece, Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy say they'll take aim at more than $500 billion in annual federal expenditures they say are unauthorized by Congress or being used in ways that Congress never intended. They say they'll hire a team of, quote, small government crusaders, which will include those in the technical and legal arenas. As far as their three-pronged plan goes, it's the cuts to federal jobs that concern Kaine and Warner the most.
I'm going to consider anything that they look at, but when they just start off with kind of the meat axe, I'm going to push back against them very, very strong.
We're going to stand up for our federal workforce. If there are ways to be more efficient, count me in. I do think our federal workers need to be back in the office.
The piece states they intend, quote, to work with embedded appointees in agencies to identify the minimum number of employees required at an agency for it to perform its constitutionally permissible and statutorily mandated functions. The number of federal employees to cut should be at least proportionate to the number of federal regulations that are nullified, saying fewer employees will be needed to enforce fewer regulations. It goes on to say they plan to, quote, help support their transition into the private sector. The president can use existing laws to give them incentives for early retirement and to make voluntary severance payments to facilitate a graceful exit. Kaine and Warner say they'll be looking closely at all decisions presented to them.
We're going to insist upon, you got to show us your homework. You got to show us the math. You got to show us the details. It's not just going to be some willy-nilly across the board number where you're going to save it regardless of how many people get hurt. We're not going to accept that.
According to the article, they say they plan to dissolve the Department of Government Efficiency on July 4th, 2026. Ashley Knight, 10 on your side.